Good morning, students. Welcome to chemistry class. We are studying chapter number 4, periodicity of elements. In the previous classes, we discussed about the arrangement and the classification of elements by different scientists. Today, we will study about the modern periodic table. The modern periodic table contains 7 horizontal rows called periods and 16 vertical columns called groups. In 1914, Bohr, Werner and Bury proposed the modern periodic law after the concept of atomic number given by Moseley. This law removed the defects in Mendeleev's periodic table. Now, what is modern periodic law? This law states that the properties of elements are the periodic function of their atomic numbers, and we have already discussed that what are the periodic functions. Basically, the repetition of the functions or the characteristics or the physical or chemical properties of the elements in a particular group is their periodic function. Modern periodic table, also known as Bohr's form of periodic table. Now, as far as the modern periodic table is concerned, we will discuss about the periods first. Now, what are periods? The horizontal rows in modern periodic table are called periods. The elements within a period have dissimilar properties from left to right across any period. What does it mean? It means that the elements in a periodic table have dissimilar properties, not the similar properties like in the vertical groups, but in periods, the properties of the elements from left to right will be dissimilar. The physical and chemical properties of elements change from metallic to non-metallic along a period. All periods except the first period start with an alkali metal with one electron in their valence shell. And what is a valence shell? The last shell of any element is the valence shell. The shell which is responsible to lose or gain the electron from the other elements. All the periods end up with zero group element with valence shell having 8 electrons. Now, what is a zero group element? Basically, the element having complete valence shell which is not going to accept or lose any electron from the last shell is the zero group element. Except helium. Helium has also its last shell completed with 2 electrons. So the elements having last shell or the valence shell completed will not react with any other elements, and so they are known as zero group elements. Now moving towards the periods. First period. It contains only 2 elements, hydrogen and helium. This period signifies the completion of K shell or first orbit. Like there is only one shell in the hydrogen element and one shell for the helium element. It is the shortest period with 2 elements. The second and third period, short periods. Each of these periods contains 8 elements. They signify the filling of L shell and M shell respectively. The second period starts with lithium and ends up with neon, whereas the third period starts with sodium and ends at argon. The fourth and fifth period, long periods. Each of these periods contains 18 elements. In these periods, the electrons fill M shell and N shell. Like you can see that as we are moving towards the more periods, the number of electrons will be increasing, and so the electrons need orbits or shells, and these shells are m and n here in the fourth and fifth period. Fourth period starts from potassium and ends at krypton. Fifth period starts from rubidium and ends at xenon. The sixth period, it contains 32 elements. It starts from cesium and ends with radon. Besides, 14 elements called lanthanides are placed at the bottom of the periodic table. The seventh period, incomplete period. It starts with francium. This period is incomplete as to date about 109 elements have been discovered. This period also includes a group of 14 elements starting from actinium. These elements are called actinides. They are also placed at the bottom of the periodic table. So here you can see the modern periodic table, and if we talk about the periods, period number 1, that is in the horizontal way, started with the hydrogen and ended up at helium. Period 2 started with lithium and ended up with neon. Period 3 started with sodium and ended up at argon. Period 4 started with potassium and ended up with krypton. Period 5 started with rubidium and ended up with xenon. Sixth period started with cesium and ended up with radon, and so on. And at the bottom you can see the lanthanides and actinide series. So this was all about the modern periodic table and the periods of the periodic table. In the next class we will study about the groups of the periodic table, and please study and learn everything from your textbook and solve the questions related to the topic. Thank you very much.